Come on by and have a bite at the Crossroad Diner, where your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. Welcome back to the Crossroad Diner. John Burnett, Steve McCurdy, and Crossroad Coaching today. How you doing, John?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to see everybody.
Okay, so we finished last week with mission statement, and we're going to start moving to sort of the next step. Talk to us a little bit about that, John.
Yeah, so let's go back just a second and peek back at the past and specifically talk to the mission statement process and kind of honing in on your core value. A core value is just a principle unless you put action to it. So we started looking at verbs, action verbs that we could apply. Some things morphed as we looked at that, which often happens because we, it's a process. And so we go through this process. It's not necessarily a magical process, but there's something magical about it. When you have clarity, and again, to the best of your ability, you recognize this is why I exist. This is my why. The reason I'm on this earth is to live this out. And it's not the thing you do, it's the why you be. And so as we went through that process and you got to be the guinea pig, and those who have been listening to the other podcasts were able to listen to that, what was it like for Steve McCurdy? And let's just start off by allowing you the opportunity to tell us your personal mission statement.
My personal mission statement is to master, communicate, and inspire authenticity. And when I began that process, my first verb just kind of didn't work. It was connect. I'm very attracted to the notion of connection, so I thought that's my mission statement. My mission has something to do with connecting myself to others in the world and them to each other. But it didn't land as a mission phrase very well. And that's when I realized that master was my first word. I have to master authenticity. I have to hold myself accountable in all transactions with anybody and with myself to be authentically who it is that I am, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. So, and I cannot do the other two. I cannot communicate it or inspire it in others unless I am coming from that place.
Yeah, that's so good. And let me ask you a question. Are you perfect at that?
Absolutely not.
Right?
But I'm not kicking myself around about it because I know it's a process.
Yes.
But it is my North Star. It is the way that I know that what to do next.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Because that is the reality. We're not living out on mission perfectly. I even mentioned the fact that, hey, we may, get to heaven and God may go, yeah, you were close. Not exactly, but you were close, close enough. And I think that's it. It's directional. It is as we move towards it in different areas of our lives and we live it out, because this is something that's with us. It's not something that is what we're doing, because we will live it out in different areas of our life as a husband, a father, a worker, a friend. It will come out of you. It has come out of you your whole life. We talked about the advantage we have as far as having lived a few years before we defined our mission statement. And yet we were able to see where it rang true and get feedback from other people that said the same thing.
Yeah, it was more of a revelation than a discovery. The other thing that I was going to think about saying is that the generations that we are talking to now are not going to have some of the battles that we had, because they're living in a world that changes moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. The software that we use next year is vastly different than what we're using now. So we've gotten accustomed to rapid and dramatic change. So I think that helps you with your mission statement, because you can't define a way. You have to define a direction. And I think that should make that process easier, actually. But today we want to talk about what's next.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to think about that because the world is moving at a different pace. And yet I still think it's amazing that while the next generation may be able to get there quicker, at the same time, there's so much distraction to even stop and I mean, we both got on a few decades into our lives before we defined our mission. That doesn't mean we weren't living on mission. In fact, we just kind of gave words to it. We've talked about that.
Right.
But there's a lot of clarity that comes when you stop and you do define it. You can start using it, because I hear it over and over again, and I've been to quite a few events just in the last 12 months where people are trying to figure out why they're here. They know it. They know there's a reason, but they're just not sure why. So what we default to is the thing. Well, we look and go, well, should I be a lawyer or a doctor or a sales guy or a dentist or a trash collector or whatever it is? Should I do what my dad did? Should I do what my mom did? And they move straight to the do, trying to figure it out that way. And there's not a tremendous amount wrong with that. It's just a harder road, right? Because you're not, you don't have that North Star. You just have other people's experiences, and you're like, oh, I might like doing that. Maybe not.
And you get what you're doing tangled up in your identity. And so if what you're doing ends for whatever reason, you go through, you're always going to go through some grief when you lose something with which you're familiar. But if there's an old story that when you walk in the gates of heaven and St. Peter's sitting there and he's got the scorecard, and he said, and you go, I know. Why wasn't I more like my Aunt Joe? And he goes, oh, no. But I do have a question. Why weren't you more like you? And you go, oh, is that the measure? Well, that's what this is all about. It doesn't matter what you do from the judgment standpoint. It's who you are being while you're doing whatever you do.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's a great way to put it. And so we were talking after you defined your mission statement. We were kind of wrapping that up. And tell us the question you asked me. Do you remember?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
What's next? What do I do with that?
Yes, exactly. And so
actually, I think I looked at you and I said, now what?
Yeah, there we go. And so it's a beautiful, because now we do get to use the advantage of a clear mission, why we exist, to inform who we become, what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so that is what I call vision. And again, way back at the beginning of this, we talked about how different people insert different words. Some people, what I call mission, some people call that vision. This is what makes sense to me, which is a scary thought because it may make no sense to anybody else. But I'll let you guys be the judge of that. So for me, I exist for a reason. That's my why. Then I have vision for what it looks like when I am living that out. So vision is a picture of the future me. You can say it that way, of my future life. Now, I know everybody's not built like John Burnett's built, but I am built to dream. I am built I'm a goal setter. I'm a dreamer. I have visionary type things. And in fact, my struggle is too many dreams and not enough actions. That's where I really struggle. It's one of my favorite things about being your friend. You're like, hey, we're going to do a podcast and we're going to start recording it every Thursday. I'm like, well, dang, I better show up. And when I do, things are working out pretty well. There's an execution to help me move towards a vision of podcasting, right? So that execution is where I struggle. The vision, not so much, but it's putting it together. The detail side of it, I really bite. And when it comes to details, so having people in my life that help hold me accountable and move me forward in those areas is mission critical for me. And I think most people on the planet. And so vision is what it looks like. As someone who masters, communicates, and inspires authenticity, for instance, I know this about you, but share with everybody, what does it look like and let's just say, what does it look like in the coming year? And
Okay.
the rest of 2023 happens to be where we're recording this, but we could be talking at any given point in your life. What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Well, I think it's going to take more shape, but you and I are both speakers. You and I both are interested in giving people insights to themselves and help them solve some problems about where it is they want to go in life and how they're going to get there. And so I have been looking in my 2 days ago, I was 73 years old, and that's and I'm wearing
Happy
my
birthday again.
Yeah, I'm wearing my hello, how are you Hawaiian shirt that the YouTube folks can see and that the podcast folks don't really care about. But I quit working and having a company and doing those things, and I want to continue to contribute. So the vision for me is that I have occasions to interact with people that also pay me money, that I get book speaking gigs, and that we do things with this podcast format and teach either in person or virtually to folks who are at various kinds of crossroads, that are maybe young people looking at school, maybe graduates of college going, did I really want to do this? Or how do I go about doing it? Maybe mid-career people, that they get the occasion to look back to themselves, and I get to be a catalyst and a guide for that. And so that's websites, that's marketing, that's all those things go into it, talking to people.
Right. Okay. So beautiful. So those are some of the executions behind it. If I heard two, we shared these two identities, by the way, but I heard two identities, and that are very specific to what you just said. What would you say are those two identities?
Oh, don't do that to me. I don't know what you heard.
Well,
I barely know what I said.
Well, you did turn 73 2 days ago.
Stop it now. I've got an off button right here.
My bad. So here's what I heard. Steve McCurdy is a speaker, and Steve McCurdy is a coach. Now, what's kind of fun to see is that, now, would you agree with those two identities as far as your vision for the future, specifically your vision for this year and the years, the immediate years to come?
Yeah. Well, and to me, I worked it backwards, because if I'm going to inspire anybody, I've got to interact with them, or they've got to see my life example and get something from that. And it sounds kind of egotistical when you put it that way, but inspiration, what I want to do is empower and inspire and give people tools and confidence. And the way that I want to go about doing that is through coaching and public speaking.
There we
go.
I
can do that till I'm 93.
There we go. Absolutely. And here's something kind of cool. We can do this retro too, right? So you just defined your mission statement. You're getting vision for what it looks like in the future, but we can look at something that you started that everybody involved right at this moment is experiencing last summer. I had the opportunity to be number 6. So something that you had vision for but had not stepped into was to be a what?
Podcaster.
A podcaster. And so it is super cool for me to look and see, as you defined your mission, you have been doing this podcasting thing, living authentically, getting other people to share their authentic stories about crossroads that they've come to, about their experience in the Crossroad Diner. I absolutely love it, because, again, we had the experience of 2020 vision back into our past to kind of help define and give words to our mission statement. But the reality is that's who you are. That's who you be. It's been coming out of you for all of your life. It's been taking shape in different ways and being lived out in different ways, and that's vision. And so hopefully this I get excited when I talk about vision, because that is where rubber starts meeting the road kind of thing. And so
you're a frequent exciter.
Yeah, well, guilty. And so,
absolutely.
I absolutely love it. It's what our life looks like when we're living on mission. Now, I've got an example. I got a little story I want to tell you. You know, if any Aggies out there, you know, would appreciate the fact that I got a little story for you, Ags. And this story is about a guy named John Burnett. When I was a little kid, now, and I'll tell you this as well. I did not define my personal mission statement when I was a little kid, but this story helps give some clarity to what vision is. And so when I was a little kid, and I want to say, I'll say somewhere really young, because I started playing Little League football in Texas when I was 5 years old. We played tackle football, helmets, pads, the whole thing. I was on the YMCA. Our team was called the Bears. How crazy is it that I remember all that? So I love football at a young age. Well, my dad went to Texas A&M, class of 60. And so I kind of grew up with this passion for Texas A&M, and I love football. And so I started dreaming at a young age. I don't know the exact age, but I'll say 8, because it was at least 8. It could have been younger than that. I started dreaming of being a football player. So I had this vision of John playing football for Texas A&M. Now, I will tell you a really interesting thing. We're Dallas Cowboy fans. I grew up loving, you know, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach, all those guys. But I never had vision for being a Dallas Cowboy. I don't know why. Even when I started, you know, getting deeper into this, I didn't have that. But I never stopped dreaming of playing football for A&M. Well, as you go through life, that vision is, I'm a little kid, right? I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. That vision is fuzzy at best, because it's from a little kid's mind what that looks like. So, you know, it's in the distance. You know, I call vision the canvas of life. And so that by definition, until I graduated high school, I could not fulfill that vision no matter what.
Right.
But I had vision for it. I was looking at it. It's fuzzy. Then I get into middle school, and they say, you got to work out. You got to lift weights. You got to stay after. You got to come early. Now, all of a sudden, what it takes to continue pursuing that vision starts getting very real for me. It's still a little fuzzy. It's still out there. Yes.
They also said you got to have the academics to get admitted to the college.
Yeah. Middle school, I didn't even have that thought. That was high school before I started thinking about my grades. And funny thing is, as much as I struggled in college, junior high and high school was a snap. But when I got into high school, to your point, I started realizing all the other things that I had. The academics was a huge part of it. I started watching the best players that I played with getting recruited by universities that were not at the same level as Texas A&M. And so I started going, okay, this vision is even bigger than I realized.
Yeah,
but I continued pursuing it. I continue, you know, I knew that if I didn't work out during the summertime, I didn't have a chance. I might not even start on my high school team if I didn't put in summertime hours. And so all of these efforts, all of these realities started coming into play as my vision got closer, it got clearer. So as we move towards vision, if we continue to believe in that vision and that dream, we get clarity as we get closer. And it can be frightening. That's why a lot of people will bail out of a vision before they actually achieve it. There's a saying, and I don't have it written down, so let's see if I can get there. That breakthrough is just past the point of the greatest point of opposition. Great point,
right?
Something along those lines. You're hearing me, right?
Yeah.
And so right when we get there, right when this is it, a lot of people bail out because it's clear, but it's also very challenging.
Good catch.
Kind of like keeping your earpod in. And so I'm in high school. I actually get recruited by A&M. And they don't give me a scholarship, but I make the decision that instead of going to some of the other schools I was recruited by, I'm going to Texas A&M. That was my dream. I'm not going to give up on my dream. I go out for the football team. The reality that every linebacker that started in front of me had an NFL career kind of gives you an idea of how difficult it was to live out the vision once I got in the middle of it. It was crystal clear. Now I'm living it, and it's still really challenging. Fortunately for me, my head coach, Jackie Sherrill, formed a special group called the 12th Man Kickoff Team that covered kickoffs. We were all non-scholarship guys. We had to try out for the position. I ended up having this unbelievable experience of playing major college football, covering kickoffs at all the home games, and then we had 3 championships, conference championships, and 3 Cotton Bowls we went to. The last game of the last game of my career, the last year that I played football, was against Notre Dame, a coach named Lou Holtz, and their star player was a Heisman Trophy winner, a guy named Tim Brown. And I have had the opportunity to tackle the Heisman Trophy winner. It was on some group tackles, some assists, but I had one solo tackle, me and Tim Brown. I still have the helmet, still have gold from Tim Brown's helmet on there. And so, man, was it worth pursuing that vision? It changed everything, literally. It changed my focus through my younger years. And then because of this unique experience, it changed my opportunities afterwards. I ended up getting a job in sports marketing. So things changed at every different level because of that vision I had when I was a little kid. So vision is, what does it look like when you're living on mission? Now, I was a little kid. I didn't have a mission statement. Was I living out my mission by playing football? No, at that point, it was actually just the opposite. By playing football, it catapulted me into living out my mission. It became a critical element in my future. And so vision is huge. Dreams are massive. This is what is next, Steve McCurdy. It is getting clear vision for what is next in your life. How you want your life to turn out.
So where we are in this process is in Crossroad Coaching, we spent 4 weeks walking you through the mechanics of creating your personal mission statement. And I urge you to go back because we're on Mondays. That's the the even numbered shows, starting with show 30, 32, 4, 6, 8. You can go back through that, or if you're new to the process or just getting into it, go back there and walk through it with us. And there's downloads for the tools. Now, this week, we've talked about what vision is. And so next week, are we going to talk about plan?
We may spend a little bit more time in vision and how to help, because everybody doesn't see it. Everybody's not a dreamer like me. So it's a little bit different for everybody.
Well, we're going to inspire you to do some dreaming this week and then bring what you get. And also it's a reflection on, if you want to know what it is you want in life, take a look at what you've been paying the price for, because that's what you're doing. That's the direction you're going. You're going, but I don't want that stuff. You got to change direction. You got to take another train. You got to get into the Crossroad Diner. So we'll meet you next week right here. Thank you, John. Appreciate the help.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother.
Okay. And we will see all of you on the flip side next Monday on the Crossroad Diner. Come on by and have a bite at the Crossroad Diner, where your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. Our video version of the podcast is on YouTube, and the audio version is most of the places that you can find podcasts. We release coaching podcasts on Monday, and on Thursdays we release new case studies of people who have spent some time in the diner so you can learn how they went about making their next decision. See you next time.